glad to have you here. So, this is for your benefit too. Y'all can talk. So just because we're on Facebook Live doesn't mean it's. Otherwise, you'll just watch the video at home. There's a benefit to being here in person. So, yeah, or at least just push it too. Fantastic. So, but today we're talking about open houses. And the thing that I really want you guys to take away from this today is that open houses should be an event, okay? This is not just a 2 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday. If you treat it like that, the results that you're gonna get out of it are minimal. The relationships that you develop are gonna be minimal. So there's at least a week's worth of work that goes into executing an open house at a high level. Now, things are a little different today. So all the slides and kind of the coaching and things I'm gonna talk about today are really designed for a typical market. Well, are we in a typical market right now? No. What do we know about our market right now?
There are more buyers.
More buyers than there are
And
sellers.
sellers.
Yeah, and how long are properties staying on the market?
It is hot.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a day, 2 days, 3 days. So as we're going through the slides and we're talking about, we want to start planning for open house on Monday, will we find a property that's available on Monday? By the time we get to Saturday or Sunday, that property might be under contract. So you may find yourself wanting to make some adjustments to the calendar that I'm going to give you today and shorten that timeline up. So instead of starting on Monday, we start on Wednesday. We still want to do all the same activities, we just have to do it in a compressed amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start out with, why would you want to host an open house?
To meet people.
To meet people.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. So the main objective, and these are in order of importance, in my opinion, okay? The number one reason to host an open house is to get buyer leads. Typically, who comes to open houses?
Buyers.
Buyers, right, and we're looking to meet buyers that are unrepresented, okay? That's our objective, that's our reason for hosting an open house, is because we want to build our client base. So you're gonna have access to all of the slides.
Okay.
They're saved and trace yours and stuff, but take your notes.
Okay.
That is fantastic, I want you to take notes. She was just taking a picture of the slide. I wanna let her know she's gonna be able to go get the slide. The second reason is seller leads. Do people thinking about selling their home ever come to an open house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanna see what it looks like.
They wanna see what it's looking like, how it compares with their house.
Yes.
Okay, that's especially true for the neighbors, okay? So nobody's gonna drive across town to come look at the house, but if it's a house in their neighborhood, they wanna know, how's that house compare with mine? Because they're thinking about putting theirs on the market. The number 3 reason, it gives you a story to tell, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? You guys have brand new businesses, right? What do you talk about with your people right now? What do you put up on Facebook and your social media?
Oh, you're asking?
Yeah, I'm just you're having to be creative, right?
Right,
And
right.
find things to talk
Yes.
about that are real estate related. When you host an open house, what's the easy thing to talk about?
The house.
The open house, right? I get to talk about, hey, save the date, I'm having this open house. I get to remind them that there's an open house. I get to videotape the property and maybe go Facebook Live at the open house. And then I can share the video again later with people. Hey, in case you missed my open house, check out this virtual tour, okay? It gives me things to talk about. And so what's really interesting is I've worked with agents that they're 6 weeks in, 8 weeks in, 12 weeks into their business, don't have a customer yet, don't have a buyer's brokerage agreement, don't have an exclusive seller agreement, but they'll share stories with me where they're talking with a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, things are going fantastic for you. It looks like you're on fire, you know, because they're talking about real estate and showing what's going on. Very often when you host an open house, you're hosting it for another agent for their listing, but does the average consumer know how all this stuff works? All they see is you're out there promoting a house, okay? They see you being a professional, and what's that do to your credibility in their mind? Definitely raises it up. Thank you for finding the word for me, Chantel. The fourth one, satisfy the homeowner. Okay, less impactful right now in this marketplace, but when an agent contracted with the seller to sell their house, you know, probably part of their marketing plan was that they're gonna host an open house, okay? And I recommend that you put it in your marketing plans for the property. So you're satisfying a commitment that you made to that homeowner, and you're showing them you're putting in the effort to find a buyer. You're exhausting every opportunity. Now, are we likely to find a buyer for that house at an open house?
Probably not.
Probably not. Less than 7% of sales did the buyer find the property at an open house. Okay? So it's really improbable that the person that comes to the open house is gonna be the one that buys the house. But if one does, well, we get to sell the house. And maybe we're not even part of that transaction, okay? So I've got a listing, and Chantel, it's in the area where you're wanting to grow your business, and you offer to host an open house for me. Well, I get exposure for my client, okay? You get the leads that come from it, okay? That's your benefit. But somebody shows up with an agent that wants to buy that house. Do you get anything out of that? No. Okay? This buyer has an agent and the seller has an agent. You were just hosting the open house. But a buyer shows up that doesn't have an agent and wants that house, then you do have an opportunity to be their agent there. But where your real opportunity is the majority of the time is build a relationship with that buyer and then go help them find the right house. Does that make sense? Okay. And then lastly, it provides you with feedback, okay? This is more for your listings, okay? All of this has to do with hosting your listing or somebody else's listing. This last one is about hosting your own listing, okay? And this is how we know, have we priced the property right? Is there issues with the property? We get to see how buyers are reacting and what sort of feedback they give us that we can then take back to our seller to get them to make repairs, improvements, make adjustments to the sales price, okay? It's one thing when you tell your client you really need to paint that purple master bedroom with the pink stripes, okay? It's different when 15 people came through an open house and 12 of them said something about how atrocious the master bedroom is. Does that make sense? So that feedback becomes valuable for you to use with the seller. Okay? Everybody with me so far? All right. So what's the ideal house to host open? Okay? Because not all houses are really good for hosting open. So I want you to think back to what our primary purpose is to find buyer leads and seller leads. That's our main reason for hosting an open house. And if we're gonna find buyer leads and seller leads, how many do we want? As many as possible. Okay, so the better the house we're hosting, the better the results we're likely gonna get. So ideally, it's your listing, okay? And that way you can potentially be on both sides of the transaction, potentially, and you get to satisfy your seller, and you get to sell your home faster, okay, your listing faster by hosting an open house. But I only recommend doing that if it is in your farm, okay? Now you'll notice up here I said your listing or a Keller Williams Atlanta Partners listing, okay? So who can you host an open house for? Anybody. You can host it for anybody, but I want you to understand there's some limitations, okay? If it's your listing, you're the one that's in control, okay? If it is, could I host an open house for a Caldwell Banker listing?
Yeah.
I could, but do we have a brokerage agreement with that seller to market their property? No, okay? So I would have to have written permission from the homeowner. I would have to have written permission from that broker. Okay, you with me so far? Is that gonna be comfortable to go get or easy to go get
Too much work.
in a short period of time? It really is. And understand when we look at Keller Williams, okay, every time you see a different name at the end of Keller Williams, names, so Keller Williams Chattahoochee North, Keller Williams Perimeter Road. Every time it's a different name, that's a different ownership group and a different broker. Okay? So all Keller Williams Atlanta partners are all under the same broker. Well, who's the listing agreement with? The agent or the broker?
Broker.
The broker, okay? So I don't have to get written permission from the seller for me to market that house. The broker already has it. Now, I want the blessing of the agent,
Right.
okay?
Right.
But I don't have to have written permission from the broker. I don't have to have written permission from the homeowner. The homeowner gave permission to the broker, and the broker is okay with whatever the agent who has the listing wants to do, as long as we're following, great policy, okay? So what we can do is we can go into FMLS or Georgia MLS, and we can search by the office, okay? And there's a video in the coaching resources folder that is how to find houses to host open, and it will walk you through how to search Georgia MLS and how to search FMLS and only look at listings by broker. Okay, so we can go in and we can put our KWRS in there, and it'll pull up just the listings are ours. And then I can go through those, and then I'm gonna reach out to that agent and say, hey Chantel, this is Trey at the Keller Williams office in Snellville. I see you've got a listing over here that you just put up this week. If you are interested and your homeowner is interested, I would love to host an open house for you. Okay? And you may tell me yes, you may tell me no, either answer is okay. I'll call the next one on the list. Okay? That makes sense to everybody? Okay? And you say yes, now we're off to the races. We're gonna start our checklist after that. So, but I don't wanna just take any listing. So again, I want it to be KWAP, but I also want it in my area, okay? And I don't have any pens. I stole it all of them.
Pencil you?
While I was looking for dry erase markers. That's okay. So the way I want you to think about it is, as you go to build your business, is it easy to be the big fish in a big pond? No. Okay, so as we're trying to build our business, we're not gonna try and tackle all of Georgia. Okay? Is it easy to be the biggest real estate agent in all of Atlanta? No. What about all of Gwinnett County?
That's not
No.
easy, but you can eventually get there.
Well,
I think, with
eventually,
experience.
okay? Eventually I could be the biggest in the country, right? Could be. So, but my point is if I were to go pick 3 or 4 neighborhoods, how quickly could I become the biggest, most well-known agent in those 4 neighborhoods?
Very quickly.
Very quickly, okay? So that's what we call our farm area, okay? That we get down, we're looking at this really narrow area where I wanna be the king or queen of real estate, okay? So if I'm picking a listing, every opportunity to host an open house in that farm area, I want. I don't want another agent coming into my pond. Does that make sense? So I wanna host all of those. But if there's not a Keller Williams Atlanta Partners listing in my farm, I'm gonna look a little farther out, okay? I'm gonna look at my focus area. But I don't wanna go be hosting open houses where I'm not trying to build my business, okay? What's your most precious commodity?
Time.
Your time, okay? So if I'm gonna go host an open house in Buford, okay, who's gonna come to that open house? People that are looking to buy houses where? In Buford. And the sellers that I'll be talking to around that house, where do they live? They're gonna be in Buford. I don't wanna build my business in Buford. Don't go take an open house in Buford, okay? Go Snellville, go Grayson, go Lilburn, and depending on where you live, like I live in Lilburn. So if I'm hosting an open house, I'm looking at Lilburn and just the little area around that. I won't go host an open house in Loganville, okay? Because that's not where I'm trying to build my business. I'll go pick another listing to do it. Now, if somebody were to show up and they wanted to buy a house in Loganville, am I gonna take care of them? Yeah. Somebody wants to list a house? Yes. But I'm not going to intentionally go looking for business there. Shows up, I'm gonna service it. Next, if priced in your target, okay? And what I mean by that is for the area where you're trying to grow your business, where are most people shopping? Okay? And I would ask you, here in Snellville, if I had an opportunity to host an open house for a $1.5 million listing, would you wanna do it? Probably not. Why? Because I'm looking for buyer and seller leads. How many people are gonna show up to a $1.5 million open house? Not a lot, because there's not a lot of people that can buy in that price market. But then again, also, when I say price in your target, I have an opportunity to host an open house for a $100,000 home. Do I want lots of buyers that are looking for $100,000 homes?
It depends on you.
It depends on you. I don't, okay? I wanna be in that 200 to 350 range where most people are buying, okay? Cause I make 2.5, 3 times the money that I do for the $100,000 home, okay? And there's plenty of them out there, okay? Next one, I wanna make sure it's priced right, okay? I wanna look at the comps. I wanna see, is that a property, you know, and I don't necessarily, I know from experience now if a home seems to be in the right price range, okay? I don't have to put as much work in to see, but let's say a home should sell for $250 and it's on the market for $280. What's the traffic at my open house gonna be?
It's gonna be slower.
It's gonna be slower. So I wanna make sure that they've got it priced right. I wanna see something that's newer on the market, okay? If something has been on the market for 120 days, why do I wanna go host that open house? If they haven't been able to sell it in 120 days, there's some agent out there that's wanting me to help them get rid of their problem. Does that make sense? I want that brand new listing that just came on the market, only been on the market a couple of weeks, that there's excitement and there's buzz around, that people are chomping at the bit to see, that they haven't already seen in their search 30 times and they skipped over, okay? The only caveat I would give to that is if it's been on the market for a little bit of time and they just had a price reduction and now it's priced right, I'll entertain that listing, okay? Cause then I've got a story to tell, you know, just reduced price, come and see it. I want a house that shows me. Do people get excited about going to see a house that's an ugly house? Okay, it could be in the right price range, it could be in my area, it could be priced right, but it's an ugly house. Who's gonna show up to that open house? Nobody, okay? So, and I know some of this stuff seems kinda simple, but it's nice to have this checklist to go through to help remind you. It's easy to find, okay? And by that, I mean, I don't want one that's way off the beaten path that you have to, cause think about your signage and people finding your open house. I don't want them seeing a sign and driving down the road, where's another sign at? You know, or they pull into the neighborhood and they make 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns. It's like, when am I gonna get this over? This isn't worth it. Cause who wants to live 6 turns into a
And
neighborhood?
doesn't that cost you more because you'd have to have more signs in order to?
Yeah, absolutely. But the signs only cost me $5 a piece.
Oh.
So I'm not too worried about the cost of the
Because of the,
signage.
okay.
So, and we'll talk about signage here in a minute too. You wanna make sure if you're hosting it for another agent, you get all the leads, okay? There are some agents out there that will tell you, I'd love for you to host my open house. You get all the buyer leads, I get all the seller leads. No, that doesn't work for me. I'll go find another agent that's willing to let me have all the leads, because what am I doing for you? I'm exposing your home, I'm helping keep your homeowner happy, I'm helping it get sold faster, I'm telling your story, I'm representing your brand when I'm there.
And I'm giving you a sale.
And potentially getting you a sale. That's the benefit to the agent that's offering you the open house. The only benefit for you showing up is the leads, okay? So you wanna make sure you get them all. And that it's okay for you to put your information on the promotional materials, okay? So, don't let another agent say, yeah, that's fantastic. I'll print out all the flyers for you. Whose information is gonna be on those flyers? Theirs. I want my information on anything that I hand out, okay? That's how you build your business. Otherwise, you're just doing a favor for another agent, okay? Making sense so far?
Yeah, that's good.
Alright, so let's start talking about the agenda. Now we have found the home that we wanna host open. What do we wanna do? Okay, well, you see, on Monday or Tuesday, okay, and again, I said we may wanna consider Wednesday now, just 'cause how fast the market's moving. But we may start on Monday, and if it goes under contract by Wednesday or Thursday, we start back over and find another property. But I generally wanna find it on Monday or Tuesday, because I wanna build hype around this. I want as many people to show up at that open house for me to have a conversation with as possible. And I can't start marketing on Saturday morning an event and expect there to be a great turnout. So it starts on Monday or Tuesday. So I'm gonna ask that a listing agent to add the open house on Georgia MLS, FMLS, and on KWLS. That pushes the date and the time out for the open house. Because it's not your listing, you can't post it there, okay? They're the only ones that are able to post that. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask the agent to promote the open house on their Facebook page and ask their client to share it on their Facebook page. I'm trying to get maximum exposure. So the more people I can get sharing, hey, there's an open house on this date at this time, the more eyeballs see it, the more interest there is, and the more traffic I'm gonna have.
What if the client doesn't wanna post it?
Then it's okay, you know? I'm gonna ask them to. They wanna get their house sold, why not share, you know? And ask their friends to share, okay? Cause I got a friend that's trying to sell their house. I wanna see them succeed. I would share their open house on my page if they asked me to, okay? Ask the listing agent to remind the seller about showing condition, okay? Make sure that the seller knows, hey, we're gonna be there, we want it to look tip-top, just like it was any other showing, cause we're gonna have a lot of people there visiting. Now, today, might we have some different things to think about in terms of that? Yeah, okay, there may be some homeowners that have some apprehension about having people come to their property. So what are some strategies we could employ to better make them feel comfortable?
We can let them know, like, we'll make sure everyone is in a mask or provide masks.
Provide
hand
masks.
sanitizers, we'll, I don't know, we'll disinfect that.
And we'll disinfect and wipe everything down afterwards.
Yeah,
We'll go through the property, we'll open up all the doors, we'll turn on all the lights, we'll open up all the blinds, and we'll open up the closets. So nobody has to touch anything as they're walking through the property, okay? And then after the event is all over, we'll go through and wipe down all of the high contact areas that are in the house with disinfectant. Wouldn't that make you feel better?
yeah.
Okay, so, and that's about the best that we can do there, okay? Now, as an alternative, we don't want any other people coming to it. Could we do a virtual open house? Yeah. Nobody shows up at the house, but they show up at a Facebook page and do it as a Facebook event. Do it as a Zoom event. Do it as something, whatever technology platform you want to use. And then you're there on camera talking about the house, doing a live tour of the house, okay? And that becomes an event. You're answering questions, you're responding to chat, okay? But we would promote that event just like you do a physical event, okay? The only difference would be is we're not gonna put signs out. We're gonna make sure we've got links out everywhere. That's the only substitute we're gonna do. So promote the event on your Facebook and social media, any other events. And this is not just one post on Monday or Tuesday. As we get to the other days, you'll see we're posting up reminders about it. Ask the listing agent about and research the property so that when you get to the event, you're able to answer everybody's questions, okay? Because understand, I start promoting this on Facebook or social media today, I may start getting phone calls today. somebody went, hey, I saw that you're having an open house this weekend. I was curious, blah, 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 blah. You know, I wanna have those answers. I don't wanna have to, well, let me go do some research and I'll get back to you. You know, I'd rather know as much as I can.
Question, so if you post that you're having an open house on
Sure.
Monday, and it's for the weekend, but someone calls you and let you know, like, hey, I actually wanna see it before the open house so that I can make an offer, or, you know, everything before.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, are you already working with an agent?
Mm-hmm.
You know, have that normal conversation. It would be no different than somebody called you from a sign call,
Yeah,
you know, for a house that you have.
so when it sells, it's basically start all over, find another house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And two, there are some cases where I would say, go ahead and have the open house anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Because does every deal that goes under contract make it to the closing table?
No.
No.
No, okay? But if it's early enough in the week that I can start over, I'll cancel the event and I'll start over.
Mm-hmm.
But if it goes under contract Friday evening, and I've told everybody there's an event Saturday at 2:00, there's no way for me to get that message out. I'm gonna still be there at 2:00, I'm gonna hold my commitment, people were expecting to see me, and I'll just share that news that we're under contract. But if they're interested, you know, in the property, we're happy to take a backup offer, or, happy to help them find another property.
Another question.
Yeah.
So for researching the property, is it like best practice to go to the property before the open house to try and view it, or do you just go a couple hours before?
And it depends, if it's vacant,
Yeah.
you know, I can certainly go ahead of time, but I could go drive the neighborhood.
Mhm.
But a lot of my research is gonna be online. I'm gonna look at the listing information in close detail, see if there's has any questions. Read over the seller's property disclosure, the community association disclosure.
Mhm.
Look at what's sold around the property, what the average prices are, make sure I know what the schools are, things like that. And then talk to the listing agent. You know, hey, is there anything unique about the property that I'm not gonna find in the MLS that I really need to know? Okay, so, good question there, okay? I'm going to design my flyers, okay? Go ahead and put the flyer, because I'm going to have flyers to hand out at the open house, because most people are gonna come to the open house, are they putting in an offer? No, they're
No.
leaving, okay, it's really natural for them to take a flyer with that property. What do I want on that flyer?
Your contact
Me,
information.
absolutely, that's what I want them taking with them, is me. But more important than that, I will put an open house sign in the yard and go ahead and put a flyer box next to it. And I will put those flyers in that flyer box, so that as people are driving past, they see there's an open house this weekend, they will go ahead and pull it out. Now, do I put out all my open house signs? No.
No.
I just put the one in the yard where I'm hosting the open house, okay? If I wait, like so many agents do, until the night before the morning of the open house, how many opportunities do the neighbors have to see that there's an open house this weekend? Not a lot. If I put it out on Monday and it's on Saturday, how many times they've seen it every day for
Twice
a
a day,
week?
3 times a day.
That is exactly right, okay? And it increases the likelihood that a seller will show up to the open house. And if I had to pick between a buyer and a seller, which one's usually? I want the sellers, okay? Cause that gives me a story to tell in addition to a client, okay?
So how many flyers do you normally try? Is there like an average that you always try to have made up?
25, 30. And a lot of it depends on how much traffic do I expect to have, and I'm gonna check back, you know, and see how things are going. You know, if I've got a flyer box there and I put 25 flyers in it, you know, swing back by and we're down to 5, okay, I'll bring 25 more tomorrow, and I'll bring 25 on Saturday.
Another cool thing too, if you keep it digital, you can ask them for their email address and send it to them. Now you have like their contact information too.
Oh, so, the next one, I will go ahead and pull active comparable properties. And again, as fast as our market is moving, I may want to do this later also to find out, are they still on the market or not? Now, why would I want to find active comparables?
Because it gives the range of exactly the the selling price to show that, okay, this is what it's really going for.
Not
exactly.
solds. Solds are what tell me my value. I wanna see what else is active
what
for
is-
sale on the market.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a buyer who's interested and the house sells, you can, take them on as a client and then show them another house.
Or if it's not the right property. They show up to my house, you know, hey, how'd you guys do? What did you think about the house? You know, we really liked it, but I had this small bedroom. Well, you know what? There actually is a house right around the corner that's priced really similar to this one that's got an amazing master bedroom. I would love the opportunity to set up an appointment to go and show you that house. Okay? Because it's my purpose and my objective to get the people that visit the open house to buy that house. No. If it's the right house, they're gonna buy that house. If it's not the right house,
Then
I
got
wanna
a
help
chance
get them to
sell it
find the right
them.
house. And if they're there visiting an open house, it's a $250,000 open house, what price home do you think they're looking
They're
for?
looking between 250, probably 275.
And those are the comparables I'm gonna have. And I'm gonna do my research on these. If I've got an opportunity, if one of these is vacant, and I can go by during the week and actually visit it and see it, how's it different from this one? What does it have that mine doesn't? Now, I've become the expert in that little neighborhood of what's going on active in the market. And anybody that shows up, if that's not the right house, I know what else is available
That's
and what might be the best fit for them. Okay? Alright, and then I'm also gonna map out where my sign's gonna go, okay? So I'll pull up on Google Maps and look on the map, you know, where are the entrances to the neighborhood? Cause there may be 3 entrances to the neighborhood. And I've gotta plot out, where am I gonna wanna put all my signs, and how many signs am I gonna need to have? You know, cause for one neighborhood where it's right off a main street, and there's no other main intersections anywhere close, and my house is 3 doors in, I may only need 3 signs, 2 at the entrance and 1 at the house. But then I'm gonna have that other one that there's 3 entrances to the neighborhood, 3 turns from each one, and it's 2 blocks from a main intersection. Well, I wanna put 2 up at the main intersection, 2 at the front entrance, and then 1 at every turn out of all 3 entrances. I might need 15 signs for that particular open house. I don't wanna figure that out Saturday morning or Friday night. I wanna know that on Monday, so if I need to go get more signs, I can get those signs. Okay? Are we doing good with Monday, Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Do we see how we're starting to build this into an event and really planning to maximize what you get out of the open house? This is more than just showing up on Saturday at 1:30 for your 2 o'clock appointment. Okay? So let's go to Tuesday or Wednesday. If the weather is good, I wanna go knock in those neighborhoods. I wanna go talk to those neighbors. Because if they're selling their house, is there a good likelihood a neighbor may be selling their house?
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's thinking about it too.
And I wanna build that relationship, so I wanna go and knock and I wanna invite them to the open house. Just, it can be a courtesy call, you know? Hey, just wanna let you know, we're having an open house this weekend, you may see some extra traffic down the street, wanna make you aware of it, and certainly you were invited, okay? Here's a flyer, okay? What some agents do is they have a neighborhood preview time, okay? So it's open to the public from 2 to 4, but from 1 to 2, it's just for the neighbors.
Oh, wow.
You make those neighbors feel special and hope that those neighbors show up. Because who do we want more than anybody else? We want the sellers. Okay, so that's a way to single them out. Okay, this is also the perfect time to ask all of those homeowners that live on a corner where you want to put a sign, is it okay for you to put a sign in your yard? Okay? Imagine you live in a neighborhood and you wake up Saturday morning and you go look out and some real estate agents plucked a sign in the yard that says open house down this direction. How do you think they think about you?
You're rude.
Yeah.
You're rude. Yeah. Now, if somebody knocks at your door and says, hey, I'm hosting an open house on Saturday from 2 to 4, would it be okay if I put a sign in your yard for about 3 hours? I'll make sure to pick it up as soon as the event's over. How many homeowners do you think are gonna say no to that?
Very few.
Very few. Do you think they appreciate it?
Yeah,
Does it make you stand out as a professional?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they've probably had somebody for a garage sale or something else put a sign in their yard before that did not bother to ask. Okay? And that's a great time, those comparables that we pull up, if we've got an opportunity to go preview them, if they're vacant, if they're having an open house, if anything like that, we've got an opportunity to get in, go look at them, or at least go drive by those houses and make sure you're really familiar with what the comparables are.
There that goes. Sorry. Thanks.
Alright, so then on Thursday and Friday,
Preview comparables.
I'll go back. You got it?
Okay.
So then on Thursday, Friday, whatever homes we intended to knock or planned to knock that we didn't, that's a great time to finish that. Okay. Circle prospect and reminder calls. So for your open house, let me know what the address is, and I can pull up the Kohl's Realty Resource list for that neighborhood. Okay? Which Kohl's tries to do its very best to match email addresses and phone numbers to the physical addresses. So then you can get on the phone and call the neighbors. Okay? So if you didn't catch them at the door, we're making a phone call. Okay? This is great if it's cold, if it's rainy. I would say it's no replacement for knocking the door, or not as good of a replacement. But it is better than not reaching out to the neighbors at all. Then on Friday, the night before, or Saturday, if we're doing our open house on Sunday, go place your directional signs. Most of the counties will let you leave your signs out for 2 or 3 days, but I try and not ever leave them out for more than one. That's just me personally, because I don't want code enforcement to come through and pick up 15 of my signs and I've got to go spend another $75. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Print your sign-in sheets and your feedback forms. Okay? Because the idea is we want leads, right? The only way we're going to capture their information is if they do a sign-in sheet. And that can either be a printed sign-in sheet or Command lets you create a landing page with a lead capture. You can have them fill in digitally on your tablet. The only thing I caution you with that is some people get apprehensive around electronics. They may feel uncomfortable putting it in. They start thinking, you know, what are they trying to do by putting it electronically? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And two, I like the printed sign-in sheets because the battery's never gone dead on my printed sheets. They always work. Okay? And then feedback forms. So I want them to sign in when they get there, but then I want them to review the property when they leave. That gives me 2 opportunities to interact with them. Okay. I'm gonna print those comparable listings out. I'll pull new ones, you know, to see, cause we're now the day before the open house. So I'll look and see if anything new's popped up on the market or any of those ones we were watching from earlier in the week have now gone under contract. Okay. And I will print a buyer's brokerage agreement or 2 and a purchase and sale agreement or 2, along with, you see I've got the little plus sign beside it. I may wanna bring a conventional loan exhibit or a FHA exhibit, potentially. Me, I just bring the buyer's brokerage agreement. If they wanna make an offer on a property, I need to get their pre-qual letter and we need to do a few other things before, I'm not just gonna be able to write it up sitting right there. Everything on the buyer's brokerage agreement, I can write up right there on the spot. There's nothing I have to look up for that. I don't need to know deed book and page, I don't need to know anything else. So, a contract, I'm usually gonna go back to the office and write it up. I'm not gonna try and write it up there. Or if I bring my laptop, we're gonna get in and we're gonna start working on my laptop together to put one together. Okay? Gather additional supplies. So is there any promotional material for vendors? That your lending company, your home warranty company, anybody that you're associated with that you're trying to help grow their business, they're trying to help you grow yours, part of your value proposition, okay? And they may help you with some of the expenses of some things at some point. Once you start being productive and you bring a lot of business to a lender or a lot of business to someone, oftentimes they will contribute to your marketing if they're allowed to be included in your marketing. Does that make sense? Okay. Water and snacks. Now, in today's climate, do you think most people are interested in your snacks?
No.
No.
Unless
So
they're wrapped.
if it's closed,
Yeah.
so that's what I'd put there. But that plate of cookies that you would normally see at an open house, I don't see there being a real value to that. Now, bottled water, I think that's a nice touch to have that. But you do it as big or as small as you want to. I have seen people have great success with wine and cheese parties as their open house. You know, so be creative and have fun with it. Okay. Umbrellas, booties, etc. Anything that you may need, because somebody comes to visit the house and they want to walk around the outside of the house, or you want to walk around the outside of the house with them, and it's raining, that umbrella. Okay. You see somebody who's parked and they're looking like they're waiting on the rain to slow down to come in, walk out and greet them with an umbrella. Okay. Encourage them to come on in. And then potentially a card table and a chair. And the reason I put that, if the house is vacant, if you're gonna be there for 2 or 3 hours, it can be really uncomfortable if you don't have some place to sit, okay, during that time. Normally if the house is occupied, you've at least got the kitchen table, okay? And then print and gather your call list, okay? What do I mean by your call list? Your database. Who should you be calling and talking to? Because what happens if you get to that open house and nobody shows up? Or you've got an extended period between visitors. We don't want that to be non-productive time. If I can't be face to face with somebody, the least I can do is be lead generating. So come prepared to do that. Okay? Good so far?
Yeah.
Alright. Saturday or Sunday, arrive early. You wanna make sure that everything's clean, everything looks good. You don't need to be there 2 or 3 hours early, but an hour early is plenty of time. Okay? That way you get to check and make sure all of your signage is up. Did a neighbor take a sign down? Did somebody walk away with a sign? Did code enforcement come and get a sign? Okay? If you're using balloons to help promote it, add your balloons to the ones that you're planning on putting balloons. Or the little twirly gigs, you know, people found different things to do to get people looking at their signs.
When code enforcement takes your signs, are you able to get them back or?
Nope. So those are forfeit. Open the blinds, turn on the lights, unlock the doors, okay? And part of that is get oriented in the house, okay? Because one of the things that really important to us guys is that y'all be safe. And that's one of the reasons we say unlock the doors. Is that way you can always stay between yourself and a guest. Keep yourself between them and a door. So you can always go to the back door, always go to the front door. You've always got a way to get away if anybody ever were to do anything. Highly improbable, low chance it's gonna happen, but just in case, we always want you guys to be prepared, okay? Set up your area. Where is it that you're gonna station? Where are you going to greet them? You know, are you setting up in the kitchen? Are you setting up in the foyer? And a lot of that's gonna depend on the layout of the house, right? Prime your sign-in sheet, okay? What I mean by prime your sign-in sheet, put 2 or 3 fake names, fake phone numbers, and fake emails on your sheet, okay? Nobody wants to be the first one signing in. And when you see a sheet and it's got 3 other people that have signed in, or 2 other people that have signed in, How do you feel now psychologically about not signing in? You're now the oddball that you don't wanna sign in, okay? So go ahead and get that primed and ready, and then I will tell you, as the day goes on, if anybody doesn't put an email address in there, doesn't put a phone number in there, when they leave, add a fake one, but do it where you know that it's fake, you know, but nobody else looking at it's gonna be fake. Cause if everybody else has put their email in, everybody else has put their phone number, then it only makes sense that you do, okay? Greet every guest and gather their information, because we are now the date of the event, and what I mean by that, and what I want you to know, is that, do you see what you just did there?
Oh, you reached out.
You reached out, okay? Guys, this is a big mistake that agents do, is they will have their sign-in sheet on a clipboard in the kitchen, and they will ask people, you know, hey, before you go, will you go sign in the kitchen? Okay? They're not going to. If I have the sign-in sheet in my clipboard, and I'm like, hey, welcome to our open house, really glad you're here today, can I go ahead and get you to sign in? They want to reach out and take it. This is uncomfortable.
For you
Look
to
at-
do it,
she-
I can
she-
move out my
she-
second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
and I will just stand here with it until they decide to take it and they sign in, okay? That psychologically will increase you getting the information dramatically.
And then they're seeing
Okay.
that you're there and you're gonna take it, so you're gonna see that they didn't put everything in,
Yeah.
which means you're gonna say, oh, this is missing, so likely you will be getting everything then.
Yep.
Wow, that's smart.
Good. So, thank you. Not my first rodeo. So, greet every guest and gather their information. Be friendly and helpful. Okay? Guys, remember your role there is not to sell that house. Okay? And they don't need a tour guide. Okay? I want to stay close enough that I know they're not rummaging through, you know, somebody's underwear or in the medicine cabinet trying to steal drugs. Okay? But I don't need to tell them, and this is the kitchen.
They can see.
They can see this is the master bedroom. Oh, and look over here, the master bathroom. Okay? They don't need that. Okay? So I want to engage with them, and I want to find out about them, not about the property. Okay? So how long have you guys been looking? You know, what's important to you in your next house? You know, have you had an agent take you out seeing houses yet? Do they have a real estate agent? Have you had an agent taking you out looking at houses yet? Okay, so that's a very different question. I want to get to the answer of do they have a real estate agent? But again, psychologically, you walk into Gap. Everybody knows what Gap is, right? A little lady walks up and says, you know, hey, welcome to Gap. Can I help you find anything? What do you say?
Just browsing.
Just browsing, okay? I ask you, do you have a real estate agent? Oh yeah, we've got an agent. Why? They don't wanna talk to you anymore, right? Okay, don't ask that question, you know? Ask them about, you know, what have they seen it like? Have you put any offers in on properties yet? Okay? I start getting clues as to whether they've been active in the market or they just in their search, okay? And I start cultivating some trust with them, and I start discovering what it is that they need in a house. Ultimately, I'm gonna find out, so have you signed a this is not in that initial conversation, this is when they start expressing an interest, or I'm trying to get an appointment with them, I wanna further their relationship. I will ask the specific question, have you signed a brokerage agreement with a real estate agent that you're gonna work with them to buy a house? But I'm not gonna ask that right out of the gate, and I'm not gonna ask them, do you have an agent? But I wanna find out enough clues that I have a sense of how much time should I be engaging with this particular buyer. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, good. Ask lots of questions. You know, that's, you know, so is this close to where you work? You know, how many bedrooms are you guys looking for? How many baths? You know, have you already been pre-qualified with a mortgage lender yet? You know, all those sorts of questions, feel free to ask them, but remember, we want to connect with them on an emotional basis too, okay? So, ask them if they're, do you already live in this area? Are you coming from someplace else? What's bringing you here? Okay, those are great types of questions to get them to open up and talking, not just yes or no questions. Okay. And then offer to help with the next steps. Okay, they're looking through the property. Okay, and ultimately we're going to ask them, so hey, what do you think? Do you have any interest in this house? And depending on the answer, I don't know, no, or yes, I'm going to respond a little bit differently. But the whole idea is, I would love to be a resource for you and love to help you. If this isn't the right house, I would love to help you find the right house, and this is how I can do it. Or if this is the right house, fantastic. I would love to help you put an offer in on the property, okay? Or I don't know, well, hey, can I sit down with you and talk about what your objectives are and see if I can help streamline this process and make it easier for you, okay? This is all.
So it's okay to print out those other comps so that when you're talking to them, it's like it goes up. Oh yeah, it's okay to show them the other ones
Yeah.
and stuff.
But this is my only copy, and I don't print the ones that have the agent's name on it for the comps, okay? Because if I ever want them to take a picture of it or a reminder, I don't want them calling that agent. I want them coming back to me, okay? And ideally, hey, this is my only copy. Can I email you a nice clean copy of this when I get back to my office? Okay, great. What's your email address? Okay, good way of making sure. Or let me make sure that I can read your email address on the sign-in sheet. Well, actually, that was my fake email address. Here's the real email address. Okay, so asking those clarifying questions. But ask for an appointment and offer to be their agent. Don't just let them come in and go and never ask that question. The number one reason why sales aren't made, okay? And what are we selling? We're selling a service. We're not selling houses, but across all of sales, the salesperson never asked for the sale, okay? Ask for the sale. For us, what's the next step? It's an appointment or it's them hiring us, okay? And if we've demonstrated ourselves to be professional and likable, one of those two ought to be the natural next step if they don't already have somebody in their world. Okay? Good?
Yes.
All right. Then post open house. We're not done. Okay? We want to share the results and the feedback with the listing agent. Okay? Carolyn Carnes, Kathy Coots, one of our major agents, or any agent let you host their house open, well, guess what you're probably going to want to do? Host another one for them in the future. Okay? Give them what they need. They need to know how did it go, how many showed up, what was the feedback from the people that visited, was there anybody that was interested that had an agent that I need to follow up with. Okay? That's great feedback to that listing agent. And the better you do with that information and treating their client with respect, the more likely you are to get the phone call from them where you don't even have to go looking for the listing. Hey, I'm taking a new listing at this area. Is this one you would be interested in? Okay. And no, too, it's also okay to tell them no. I certainly appreciate the opportunity. Please keep me on your list, but that one falls outside the area where I'm trying to grow my business. But when you have one in Lilburn and Grayson, I'm all in, or Loganville, or Monroe, or wherever it is you're trying to grow. Send thank you cards to the listing agent, okay? Send a thank you card to the neighbors that showed up. You know where they live, okay? Follow up with every visitor. The fortune is in the follow-up, okay? So everybody that's on your sheet, you want to touch base with them, have another conversation with them, see if you can help them, put them in your database, get them on a drip campaign, and then we're done. And that's the end of my slideshow.
Okay.
Did we get any good ideas today?
That was excellent.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm excited.
More than just 2 hours on a Saturday, right?
And when you really boil it down, it's nothing but things that we can do, that it's not like this huge overwhelming thing. It's like there's proper steps, and I like organization, and
No,
Probably
fantastic.
drive you nuts with the list,
Well,
but yeah.
that slideshow is in the coaching resource folder under your checklist.
Oh.
There's the buyer checklist, the seller checklist, and your open house
Let's just
checklist.
get on that.
That's your open house checklist right there.
Awesome.
So I encourage you guys, go print it out, and for every open house, just go through and check off each step as you work your way through it. And you'll find yourselves having really good success with it. And you have to show out right there. All right, guys. Well, that was it for today. You guys have any other questions?
To the printed materials or the signs or something like that?
Say that again.
You said you were gonna get back to those, the signs or the printed materials?